1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5, 4, 5, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're good? Okay.
Should check audio levels. Make sure everybody's good. Good to go? Okay. Are you fine? Yeah, good to go? Right here, I'm talking now. Level's good? Okay. Because he'll be a little bit taller and everything, but yeah. You good to go on levels? Okay. You all set? Great.
I see you can come up. Okay. Okay. I want to thank everybody for being here. I would be remiss not to point out today is a solemn day with 9/11, and we remember those thousands of Americans who lost their lives on this day 19 years ago, and all the members of law enforcement and first responders who did heroic tasks that day. And so we certainly remember them, and I think it's important to acknowledge that before we begin. I want to thank everybody for being here, and thank Jeff Jensen, the U.S. Attorney here in the Eastern District, for his ongoing partnership with the Missouri Attorney General's Office and our Safer Streets initiative. One of the first things we did after I took office as Attorney General last year was to form this partnership with the U.S. Attorney's Office, first in the Eastern District of Missouri and then later in the Western District of Missouri, to fight crime in the most violent communities facing those issues here in Missouri, including right here where I grew up in St. Louis. And it's an unprecedented partnership. Our first class of Special Assistant U.S. Attorneys, or SAUSes, have worked tirelessly alongside the U.S. Attorney's talented team in filing hundreds of charges against over 100 defendants. And as you can see by the posters to my left, those results certainly have been impressive. Last year, I'll give you a couple of examples. Last year, we indicted a man for carjacking, gun charges, and drug charges. We charged him with pointing a gun in the face of a driver who managed to get out of the car even though the man shot at the driver. Police found a weapon loaded with 50 rounds, 166 heroin capsules, and 82 meth tablets. And if you think about the lives that could be destroyed from that activity, it is startling. Most recently, on August 28th, 2020, a complaint was filed charging another man with armed business robbery. Our complaint alleges that on July 24th, 2020, the individual entered a T-Mobile store, and after speaking to a store employee, he pointed a handgun at the employee and demanded money from the cash register. After the employee complied, the man collected the money and a cell phone. He forced the employee at gunpoint to the back of the office. The individual was then fled the scene, and just yesterday, the man was located and placed under arrest for the robbery by the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, aided by the FBI. The case was a joint investigation by the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department and the FBI as part of our Safer Streets initiative and Operation Legend. So today, we're here to announce our second class of SAUSes that I'm confident will build on the work of the first group to make Missouri cities safer, including right here in St. Louis. And make no mistake about it, the level of violence that we've seen is deeply concerning. As a husband, as a father, as Attorney General, I'm very concerned, and we all should be, and we shouldn't lose that sense of outrage by the level of violence that we're seeing. As of yesterday, there were 192 murders in St. Louis, compared to 194 all of last year. 9 police officers have been shot, including Officer Bohannon, who lost his life serving this community. Aggravated assaults have continued to increase, and carjacking rates continue at alarming rates. This is simply unacceptable. Across the country, we've seen a troubling rise in violence, a growing chorus to defund the police. Police departments are seeing a surge in retirement applications, and the truth of the matter is that criminals are feeling emboldened. That cannot stand. So we choose to stand with the victims, the children caught in the crossfire of violence, the mothers, the fathers, the grandmothers, the grandfathers who've seen lives of the next generation cut short, the young people and their families devastated by violent crime. And those unsuspecting victims who've been terrorized by someone sticking a gun in their face, stealing their vehicle, and those who've been assaulted and scarred for life. We stand for the people of this community who simply want to feel safe. To be clear, this is an all-hands-on-deck moment. Our office stands ready to help in any way that we can. That's why we're increasing our presence and adding more capacity to the Safer Streets initiative, and why we're adding up to 5 now, lawyers from our office who'd be designated as SAUSes as part of our Safer Streets initiative. And in the western side of the state, we're adding that capacity from 3 to 4 lawyers. Here today, as part of that group, an impressive group, is Natalie Warner and Jen Shazinski, who will continue their tremendous service as Sousas as part of this initiative. And they'll be joined by 3 very experienced litigators and prosecutors, Mike Hayes, Rick Groneman, who are here today, and Dan James, who could not be here today. And of course, from our office, their work is being managed by my first assistant, Chris Stevens, who spent 15 years as a federal prosecutor prosecuting violent crime at the U.S. Attorney's Office here in the Eastern District, and Christine Krug, who leads our Public Safety Division, one of the finest prosecutors in the state of Missouri. As before, these special prosecutors will handle all types of cases, specifically homicides, carjackings, and gun crimes. Nothing could be more important than the safety of this community. And so now I'll turn it over to Jeff Jensen, the U.S. Attorney, who will make some other comments.
Thank you, General. And I really want to thank you for this assistance in our office. It's wonderful to have these experienced prosecutors working side by side with our very experienced assistant U.S. attorneys who are working as hard now as they ever have. And now we need this help, and it's very welcome. So I thought I'd take this opportunity to also talk about the results of Operation Legend so far. We had the Department of Homeland Security gave us approximately 50 agents from around the country, and they've done really good work. They've been working hard. I'd like to introduce, to start talking about those results, Vinnie Blanton, who I think you know, who's recently become the communications director for our office.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. I would like to thank Jeff, my new boss. It's been a great 3 weeks in the office so far. I learned a lot. I'm going to be working with you all, so Jeff has told me I'm the face of the office. If you need anything in the future, reach out to me, and I'll try to get the information. If I can't, I'll let you know why I can, and we'll go from there. And to the General, thank you for having us here today. So from our office, as the U.S. Attorney just said, he's going to talk about Operation Legend. So these graphs over here show you some of the weapons seized during our operation. Also on that far end, you see the graphics, and you guys have a handout. So I want to talk about those numbers. Now, the numbers show before Operation Legend, and they show after. So the category of before goes from July 16 to August 12. According to homicides, the total before Operation Legend was 38. Once it started, it went down to 23, and that is a decrease of about 39.5%. Then you look at the number of rapes. There were 7 before Operation Legend. It went down to 2 during Operation Legend. That was a decrease of about 71%. Now, robberies, this is where we saw a slight increase. The total before was 102. That number, once we launched, was 110. So again, that's a slight increase of about 1.08%. Not much, but that is still an increase. Now, carjackings, this is something that all of us in St. Louis has heard about. You guys have covered it. That is still happening, but we do see a double-digit increase at about 12.1%. That's a decrease starting with 39 before Operation Legend and ending at about 29. Now, here's something that we are really pleased to see a decrease in, and that's 396 aggravated assaults before Operation Legend. That number dropped to 312, so that shows that our teams are working together and trying to make a difference. That decrease is about 21%. Now, aggravated assaults when it comes to a firearm, this is not a weapon like a bat, knife, anything. This is specifically with firearms. That's 309 before Operation Legend and 233 during. And that's nearly a 25% drop. So total crime, you have about a 17.5% decrease when it comes to total person crimes. That big number before was 542. That second number is 447. Now, if you guys look at that bottom graph, I want to get it up higher, but if the cameras can go down, you'll see the impact that Operation Legend is making here in the Eastern District. 453 arrests. That's a big number, but an even bigger number is going to be down with the weapons seized. It might look small, that's 155, but that's 3 districts, primarily the downtown area where we're seeing a lot of activity. You see the road closures and things, and also 2 portions of North City. That's 155 weapons taken off the streets. And we tried to look at the numbers this morning and find out if that's up or down. There's no real way to know, but just about every investigator we talked to this morning said that's a lot of weapons off the streets. So when you look at this number, this is also interesting. Defendants charged federally. That might look small, it's 159. Well, that's people. Some of those people might have 1 charge, 2 charges, 3 charges, and maybe more. So overall, those are the numbers that you have. You have the handout. I'm going to let the U.S. Attorney talk to those because he can break it down for you that way. Thank you for your time.
Really, I just want to take questions, but if there are any, but that 450 arrest number, 28 of those were homicide arrests. So again, the Department of Homeland Security, the Missouri Highway Patrol, they've been deployed around the city, primarily in the 5th and the 6th districts, and supporting homicide and responding to shots fired, shot spotter alerts or other calls for shots fired. And we're seeing some success. Obviously, it's pretty early to tell. We're comparing the 4 weeks before and after. The 4 weeks before were some of the worst 4 weeks we've ever had in the city of St. Louis, but at least we're turning the tide. So any questions?
Do you believe these charges would have been filed had it not been for safer streets?
Go ahead.
I think that the issue is the charges get filed faster. We would eventually get to those cases, but we've got prosecutors who are working night and day, weekends, doing everything they can. So this extra help allows us to get those charges filed more quickly and gets these people off the street more quickly.
And then at the state level, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that gun laws at the state level allow anyone over to carry a gun. So at the federal level, you're able to prosecute for gun crimes, is that?
Yes, and there's certain gun crimes we can prosecute. Felon in possession of a firearm is a big one. Carjackings, Hobbs Act robberies, which essentially means the robbery of a business as opposed to an individual because there's an interstate commerce nexus, and also gun crimes that are connected with drug dealing. So that gives us plenty to work with.
When you look at the images here, of some of the weapons that have been recovered, and you hear people on the street with immediate saying, I just don't feel safe in the city, and then they see stuff like this. What do you think?
I think the violent crime in the city is absolutely unacceptable. And these are not just weapons, these are crime guns. These are weapons used in crimes. So it's alarming, and I think we're doing what we can to try to drive down the violent crime so that those more important long-term efforts by the community can take hold. The things that Urban Leaguers do in Better Family Life, all those groups, father support, they're doing wonderful work, but with this level of violence, their work can't take hold. So we're trying to give them a chance for the long-term solution, which is more important.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth pointing out, one of the reasons we're here today, in addition, and I didn't rattle off those numbers, but they're there, but statewide, through the Safer Streets Initiative, over 300 charges filed, is the level of violence as stated by both the U.S. Attorney and myself is unacceptable. And but I do think it's important for the public to know that this partnership does exist and there are results. So we are getting criminals off the streets. We are doing everything we can with this partnership, which is unique in the whole country. This is not happening anywhere else. The idea that the state AG's office working with U.S. attorneys in both St. Louis and Kansas City are working together to bring these charges is something that we can look to as being part of the solution.
If this is successful, though, shouldn't that mean that more federal dollars should be coming to the U.S. Attorney's Office so he can hire district attorneys rather than having to use them for the state AGs?
Well, I can just speak for myself. One of the very first things I did, before I was even sworn in, Jeff and I met in his office and said, how can we work together? And so there couldn't be anything more important than public safety. As the Attorney General, my job is to make sure Missourians feel safe. So this issue is front and center. And there's a human toll, the lives that are lost, but also for this region, for the St. Louis region to grow and to be a place where our kids not only feel safe, but they can get a good education and they can build a career here. And St. Louis is growing and thriving. We've got to do better when it comes to violent crime. And so I think it's these kinds of partnerships that can help lead the way.
But isn't it robbing Peter to pay Paul?
Well, no, these are just resources that would have never come to bear. I mean, I fully support if the federal government wants to, help, and I'll let Jeff speak to that. But as the state attorney general, when Missouri has 3 of the top 15 cities in per capita violent crime rates, I felt compelled to take action, and that's why we started this initiative.
So I think we have enough resources from a prosecutorial standpoint with this assistance, but Operation Legend is going to generate many, many more cases because it's assisting the police department, and they are definitely understaffed. The city police is way understaffed. So we have the Department of Homeland Security agents and the Highway Patrol, they're out there on the streets. They're not up in an office somewhere. They're in the cars, they're out doing the work. That'll generate more cases. We'll handle it. We'll do those cases. That's our job, and we'll do it to try to keep the community safe. So I realize the crime is still unacceptably high, but if we were not doing this, I worry it'd be an awful lot worse than it is. It's the city and the county, the metropolitan area, but the focus is clearly in the city.
If you could go back just for a second on your point about the workers that are feeling like nature violence and all those other programs that are going on right now, it seems like they all have different approaches, but the same goal of reducing crime in our region. So do you think that this is complementary to that work? I mean, it's so different.
I think so. They have different approaches, but we need different approaches. We do coordinate that in ways that you probably don't see. So, for example, if we focus on a certain neighborhood or a certain area of the city, the de-escalation efforts will focus on that same area. The Urban League will put their Save Our Sons program in that same area and create jobs. Father Support, who tries to reconnect fathers to their families, will focus on those same areas as well. So we're coordinating behind the scenes, and they're doing good work, but they can't do it with bullets flying like they have been.
Yeah, so this is essentially sort of year one. Once those spouses got sworn in and really began to develop a caseload, this is kind of a status update on what we've done in year one. And then we've got the new spouses, or two of them that are remaining, been cross-deputized, and they'll continue that work. So now that we're kind of up at full speed, and I think Jeff makes a good point, Operation Legend really puts more boots on the ground on the law enforcement on the street. But as those cases are generated, the prosecutorial help that we already have in place through Safer Streets with that additional capacity puts us in a good position to actually prosecute those cases. So the work that we've done over the last year has been helpful as Operation Legend then moves, sort of on the ground. We can help prosecute those cases. So this is, sort of the next class for the next year that we're introducing today to continue the Safer Streets initiative.
So initially it was 5, right?
Well, initially it was 4. And we're upping that to 5.
Then it became 5?
What's that?
I'm sorry, you said it was initially 4 and then it became 5?
Yeah, we're adding capacity now to have 5 lawyers from our office.
Those original 4, are they going to still be around, or are they going to?
2 of those 4 will remain, and then we're adding 3 new different lawyers from our office to the initiative.
Did they start immediately, the lawyer?
Yes. Yeah, they've gone through the background checks and ready to roll.
But if you would like updates on Operation Legend going forward, I really mean it, please contact Vinny, and he'll give you updates as we go. I mean, sometimes our numbers come in weekly, so we might not have it up to that day, but please contact Vinny going forward for that or anything else.
Can you kind of explain that at the federal level, there are not homicide charges per se at the
Correct.
federal level?
Right.
Explain how this works.
Yeah, they're not, unless it's a homicide that's tied into another federal crime, so a business robbery where someone is shot, or a homicide tied into a drug deal. So we don't have jurisdiction on straight homicide cases. So we try to focus on those violent offenders and shooters because under the assumption that people who rob businesses or commit carjackings are probably likely committing homicides as well, and drug dealers.
And then how does this work sort of on a molecular level? You have a state prosecutor here, a circuit attorney. So how does a carjacking that happens in St. Louis end up on your plate as opposed to hers? How does that work?
Right. Well, we try to take most of the case. If we have federal jurisdiction, we take the case federally if we can. I mean, if the facts are there to do it. And that's not a criticism of their office. The reason we do it is because we have more resources. So our recidivism rates are extremely low. So we have recidivism of about 7 or 8% in the federal system compared to national averages of 60, 70%. We work hard to get people good jobs and careers so they can come out and be proud of themselves and proud of their lives, and we're having success with that. That's not something I do. That's what the probation office does under the direction of the judges, so it's not anything I have much to do with. But it's better to get people in the federal system where their lives can truly get turned around with a career.
Any more questions? Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Vinny. Hey, you too, buddy. Welcome to the show. All right, I'm gonna grab it.
And I was like, wait, I had on my